President-elect Joe Biden making more big staff announcements. Tell us about his latest choices. And also this, that the AP is reporting that White House coronavirus response coordinator, Dr. Deborah Birx, somebody this country has gotten to know, is hoping to stay on and work with the Biden administration. What do we know about her position and her future?
Well, Eamon, as it relates to the latest batch of staff announcements, the pace certainly picking up here in Wilmington. This is the third set we're seeing just in this week alone. There's a familiar pattern here, and it's really just how familiar these faces are to the president-elect. You have Tom Vilsack, the choice for Secretary of Agriculture. Biden worked with him for 8 years in the White House when he held that position there. Biden talked often on the campaign trail when Tom Vilsack was with him, especially in Iowa, about how much he relied on him beyond his portfolio at the time as Agriculture Secretary. Then you look at Susan Rice being appointed as the head of the Domestic Policy Council. Remember, a few months ago, Eamon, we were talking about her as a potential vice presidential pick. They worked closely together when she was the National Security Advisor, also, of course, the UN ambassador in the Obama administration. And then there's Dennis McDonough, the choice to lead the VA. Dennis was the chief of staff for the final years of the Obama administration, also worked on the national security team there for a number of years. A very difficult bureaucratic task that he's being handed, and one that Biden certainly trusts him with. And your question about Dr. Birx is an interesting one, because on the part of the Biden team, you're really seeing an interest in a clean break from the Trump administration. You saw that in the choice of Rochelle Walensky to be the CDC director. Biden could have kept on Dr. Redfield in that position, chose to go in a new direction. We haven't heard from the transition team about what exactly is in store for Dr. Birx. One interesting note, though, she has worked closely in the past with Dr. Fauci, especially on issues related to HIV and AIDS. Dr. Fauci is one of the exceptions here that is staying on in the Biden team. And perhaps if there is going to be a role for Dr. Birx in the future, it might be a little bit on the periphery, but one that she can keep her contacts with Dr. Fauci on.
Let me, Phil, play for you what President Trump said about Dr. Birx back in July. Watch this.
I think they knock her because she probably is on my side. But she is a fantastic woman who's done a fantastic job.
There were moments where there was some question, certainly, about her judgment and some of the reactions she gave at some of the statements that the president was making. That was nearly 6 months ago. What do we know about her current standing in the White House?
Well, Eamon, Dr. Birx in the last several months has actually done a great deal of work traveling around the country. She's been visiting many, if not all of the states, having a lot of one-on-one meetings with governors, sharing data and analysis about the spread of the virus, as well as delivering personally to the governors the best practices from the CDC and the other doctors on the task force. And so if there's a role for her to continue in the Biden administration, it could potentially be as some sort of a liaison with those governors, simply because she's established those relationships and that connection to those key states already in her service in the Trump years. But her profile in the Trump administration certainly has declined from the spring and summer when she was on national television every day holding those daily briefings. We now see her very irregularly, and instead we're getting a lot of the coronavirus information, if not from the president himself, then from his White House press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, who we can all be assured is not going to be staying on in the Biden administration.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.